Bayou Times Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bayou Times Sports. Harry McCullough here. It was 40 years ago that the Nicholls State Colonels won the Golf Star Championship with a team coached by Sonny Jackson back in the day. They'll celebrate the 40th anniversary of that event coming up in a couple of weeks as the Cajuns, as the Colonels take on Northwestern with 11 a.m. kickoff. Here to talk a little more about it, we got a quarterback, a coach, and a guy that remembers it. Shane Kleber is the director of the Colonels Athletic Association. Keith Menard was a quarterback on that team, the former Rain Wolf, who came into play for the Colonels at that time. And Don Rodriguez was one of the guys that brought him here, right?
Yes.
Recruiting guys. A great recruiting story. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Shane, let's talk a little bit about what you guys are going to do to honor this team.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we know when you look at championship teams, they don't happen by accident. It's all about the people. And when you talk to these two guys, I'm sure that'll resonate, just the leadership we have on those teams. So part of what we want to do is to make sure we commemorate those guys. And we're going to start with our tailgate. We have a CAA alumni tailgate that we do every home game. And so those guys will all be invited. They'll get their ticket to the game. We'll get a chance to get in there and they can kind of meet up. And some of those guys haven't seen each other in a long time. We know the stories get better year after year. And, as being part of one of those championship teams in 05, it's not always about the plays that happen in the game, but it's the relationships you have with the people. And we want to make sure we start early. It's 11 o'clock game, Battle NSU. It's always a rival. You can throw the records out. And just giving those guys an opportunity to kind of meet up first at the tailgate. Once the tailgate happens, an hour before every kickoff, we have the Tim Rebo Chalk Talk, which is very unique for college football. Coach Rebo will bring in the guys from the Huddle Up Club, which is our football-specific booster club, and former players. So Keith and Coach Rod and their former teammates will be able to come in and kind of look at the facility and hear from Coach Rebo. And they'll be able to ask him some questions like, hey, Coach, what can we expect today? Who should we take a look at during the game? Is there anybody comparable to a Keith Menard? So it'll make for a good excitement for those guys. And then we'll leave there and they'll get an opportunity to go up and watch the game. And then in the second quarter, the first television timeout, we want to bring the whole team out and just to commemorate those guys in the front of the home crowd. And we should have a big crowd, Battle NSU. 11 o'clock kickoff, a little early, but I think everybody will come out. We have a lot of people that reached out. I think there's almost
October
50
19th.
guys.
Yeah, the weather will be great, right?
Weather will be beautiful.
October weather's good.
October weather will be outstanding.
You can stick around for Nelly, which comes later on, right?
Stick around for Nelly. We invite everybody to we know it's an early game, so they may want to stay on campus afterwards and watch some other games.
The rest of the country has kickoffs at 11 o'clock, so right. We can handle it, and it'll be a good time. And as we're looking at some of those facilities now, Keith, it must have looked just like this when you showed up in 1981, right? Is when you were recruited.
Yes or no, it didn't look like that. But I will tell you, back then, coming from Rain High School, that facility that we were in was great.
Right. Yeah.
And, I just wanted to play college football. I would have played anywhere. And getting a chance to play at Nicholls that's something I'll always cherish.
Yeah, a lot of people know you as coach from around the area, right? You've coached at a few high schools around here. Tell me a story about your recruiting story here, which I did not know about, but it's an interesting story.
Well, my players know about it because I told them about it. But when I was coming out of high school, I wasn't recruited by Nicholls State. Had no clue where Nicholls State was, and they changed the staffs over. And Coach Jackson and his staff had just taken over. They came to my high school to look at a wide receiver. My head coach had given them the film and said, look at my quarterback. I got a phone call a little bit later on saying they wanted to sign me to a scholarship, and I'd never met a coach, never been on campus, never did anything, and I signed the paperwork because I wanted to play college football.
That might have been an internet joke back then if we'd had the internet, but yeah. So you showed up, and they were glad you did, huh? Coach Rod, have a guy like this on campus, and you say his talents might have translated, right?
His head coach was Louis Cook.
Right.
And if you if you know football in Louisiana, Louis was a quarterback whisperer to me, and Keith came over
and all the reads, Joe Clark and I was on the defensive staff. Well, he knew them. I mean, he could, when they were talking, he could translate it. So that put him a step forward and everything. Of course, as a freshman, you know, he had some growing pains. And, you know, he led us to a bunch of victories.
Yeah, he sure did. And so, Keith, as we're talking about that team, the 84 team, it all kind of came together. Y'all didn't really blow it out the whole time, right? Y'all kind of stumbled, and then y'all grew as the year went.
Yeah, you know, we had a tough schedule. Start off with Northeast, who's, you know, I think won a national championship not long after that year. They always had great players. McNeese was always a thorn in our side. We lost to them. Troy was running the option back then, was really good. Troy and McNeese games were very close. And then we played Sam Houston. Opening game at home on TV. They were supposed to beat the heck out of us, you know, because we're 0-3, and they really had a good team, but we really were prepared, and we put it on them that night, and in front of a great crowd at home on a Thursday night. And I think that just kind of propelled us into what we needed to be like, you know, what was going to propel us to win the conference championship. And, you know, it was the first year we were in a conference. The first 3 years we weren't. So, you know, that was big for us, you know, a chance to win a conference championship. And that was our focus all along.
Things don't change much, right? I mean, you play tough schedule, get in your conference, and then make something happen, right?
That's correct.
It's kind of the way they do things now, too.
You just didn't have money games back then.
Right. They didn't have to go to Tiger Stadium or Nebraska or Oklahoma or one of those. All right, we'll take a break. We got a couple more segments to go with this group. We'll be right back right here on Bayou Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time Sports. We're talking about the Nicholls 40th anniversary of the Nicholls team that won the Golf Star Championship back in 1984. Shane Kleber is the director of Colonel Athletics. Keith Miller is the quarterback. Don Rodriguez was a coach on that staff. Shane, so you had a similar event, right? You played from 01 to 04, and then that team came behind you guys. Very similar to the way the program was building at that time for an 84 team.
Very similar. When I came in, they were 1-9 the year before. I came in as a freshman. We were 3-7, but 7 losses were all by less than 10 points. And then my sophomore year, we were number 20 in the country, and we were 7-4. So we kind of knew we were building something special. And 03 came around, and we just kept chipping, and 04 came around. And then by the time that 05 team, you had enough experience on that roster and people who can kind of go to bat. And it's like we say, you know, those teams, they're special for a reason. And it's the people on those teams and the leadership that you have from those individuals.
Yeah, that was Darrell Day, right? And Coach Bucket.
And Jay Thomas. And when you look at that coaching staff, you had John Robinson, who ended up being a general manager of the Tennessee Titans. Charles Kelly was a defensive coordinator at Alabama and also with Deion Sanders at Colorado.
Right.
So you had some guys on there with some pedigree. And the issue at that time was the continuity and keeping those coaches together on the staff, which you haven't really been able to do that until Coach Rebo.
But, you know, with the Colonel Athletic, so this is how you grow roots, right? You bring these guys back and everybody connects. So it's a big event on next Saturday.
Absolutely. And when you look at the roster in 84 and you compare it to the roster now, I mean, it's a mirror image. You know, you recruit local and you do still have some players. You know, you have a rookie running back right now from Pensacola that's kind of lighting it up. The quarterback's from Ohio, but the nucleus of that team is from Louisiana. 93 players this year. You had 98 players last year. When you look at that 84 roster, you see the same thing. There's only 7 players that I could see on that roster that weren't from Louisiana. Coach Rocket maybe, you know, talk a little bit about that for us.
That was big, huh? Coach Rod was look, we got to start recruiting these local guys and bring them in. Well, even though Rain was not so much local, right?
Well, Sonny's idea, I mean, people don't realize Sonny hired basically was high school coaches.
Right.
I mean, Denzel was with him at Northeast.
Northeast.
So he was a college coach, but all the rest of us were all high school coaches.
Right.
I came from H.L. Bourgeois.
Right.
Kenny Guillot came from Woodlawn.
And Joe Clark was a high school coach when he came in, but Joe had coached in the WFL, Tulane, different things. So,
And then Don Schwab came in, right?
Yeah, well, Schwab was the offensive coordinator.
We're taking a look at some of those pictures.
and
Don.
Steve Crevetta came in in '84.
Yes.
They both came in.
Don, you're rocking a nice little mustache. In
Yes,
the picture.
yes, that was-
second row all the way to the right.
Yeah, I had long hair and a mustache.
Now, how important was that? And tell me about Sonny Jackson. We all hear Sonny Jackson stories, right? So, Keith, why don't you share a Sonny Jackson "My Way or the Highway" story, right?
Well, I mean, that was a lot of. I don't think any of them would fit real good in this TV show, but you know, Coach Jackson was a guy that I really believe could have gotten anybody to run through a wall for him. I mean, he could chew you out and pat you on the back at the same time, and you didn't know which one he was doing. But all you knew is you better get it right.
Yeah.
But he was a guy that, to me, I stayed in touch with after college, and I think I tried to mold some of my coaching where he cared more about us growing up as young men, becoming great fathers and great husbands and great members of society more than what we were on the field. And I think that's what I tried to do as a coach. But I mean, Coach Jackson was great to me. So was Joe Clark. So I mean, those guys became guys I could talk to, and after leaving college.
Yeah.
Joe Clark coached. Sonny Jackson coached at St. Joe Chauvin.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we all remember him coming up
With
the
Kelly Pugh, Ralph Perry, Gray Falls. That was all on the staff.
That's a real good
At St. Joe.
coaches for sure. And but that staff, a lot of guys went on to coach too, right? That were underneath him, right? Obviously, Sonny's son,
Yes.
Hud when coach, Clint Conk became a coach. All those coaches.
Yep. Yes.
So he had a tree, right, that went on. What about that year? You said you started slow, but did y'all figure something? Did something click offensively or defensively that kind of got y'all rolling?
I know I came off of '83 with I injured my knee in '83, and Doug Hudson became the starter, who ended up having a great '86 season. Doug's one of my best friends, served at my wedding. Right. But he started the year off in '84 as the quarterback the first 2 games. And then I ended up coming in the 3rd game of the year to start and finished out the rest of the year. But I wasn't the difference. I think it was just us figuring out, like, hey, man, we got a chance. It's conference. If you're independent, you're like, where are we going from here?
Yeah.
But at least with the conference, we're looking at, hey, man, we got some games we can. If we do this, we got a chance to win this conference championship. And I think that's where. That's what kept us going.
Did they have I should know this. Did they have a playoff at that time, or
yes, but
a bowl or anything?
but because we were a new conference, it wasn't an automatic bid for the conference championship.
I got you. So yeah, it was. So that was the championship. When you win it, you walk off.
Yes,
and it was good. So, Coach Rob, what do you remember about that team in particular? Do you remember one thing? Those guys?
Sonny was like the Boreman and Bailey circus. He would, his mind was always clicking. To have good ideas, you have to have many ideas.
Right.
I mean, things like the first poster, we didn't know none of the players. So the poster was the coaches. Now I've got it hung up somewhere.
Yeah, I have that one too.
Yeah. Okay. And then he let the front of the media guy was a burning football, and he always one year we dressed up like cowboys.
Yeah.
We had the chaps, we had everything, but he was like thinking ahead,
right.
Trying to promote.
Right. He started the show on HTV at that time too. So, hey, one more segment to go. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with more Bayou Time Sports. Stay with us.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Bayou Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time Sports. Our last segment talking about the 1984 Golf Star champions. That would be the Nicholls State. And they're celebrating 40 years for that club, and they're bringing a lot of those guys back a couple of weeks from now on Saturday against Northwestern, 11 a.m. kickoff. And we want to see a lot of those guys out there and really kind of give these guys their flowers as they come back. And like I said, that's how you grow tradition, is to bring guys back and talk about those kind of things. Coach Rod is here. Of course, we've got Keith Menard, Shane Kleber, Don Rodriguez. You were saying some of the local guys, though, right? It was just a bunch of local guys, and you hope you'll see a lot of them in a couple of
Saturdays. Well, I'm hoping they can all show up. Yeah. Trying to get the word out. So I got up to David Fuhrer from Hanson, Scott LeBlanc, who's a golf pro in Baton Rouge. He was at E.D. White. Billy Bob Hebert was a quarterback, slot receiver from South Lafourche. Lynn Kennedy Thibodeau, Keith Menard Rain, Lionel Vital, Lauraville, John and Joe Saunier from Thibodeau High. One of them's a doctor. I'm not for sure if both of them are doctors.
I thought the other one was a lawyer.
One's a doctor, one's one, and they could run. Yeah. Ellery Scott Thibodeau, Dwayne Brown from HL, Dr. Mike Robichaud from Central Lafourche, Dr. Malin Poche from Lutcher, Taylor Mathern, who owns a big trucking company. Dwight Hill was an offensive lineman at Downsville, played defensive back for us. He could run and knock the stars out of you. Anthony Mack from Thibodeau, Clarence Robinson works for the federal government from Morgan City. Jamie Kramer from Thibodeau, Jerry Havner, Patterson, Lynn Bychurch, Hall of Famer from South Lafourche, Billy Naka, physical therapist from E.D. White, Mitch Rodriguez coaches at Colorado State, I think.
He's at Gulf Shores High School.
Okay, so he's got it. Greg Price works for the city of Thibodeau. Gary Duhoense, he owns a business from Central, owns a business in Houma. John Perry is a pharmaceutical rep, Central Lafourche. Let's see, Mark Carrier from Church Point, right. And Darrell Nevis,
right?
From he was a linebacker and he played for us. I put him down.
Nicholls seems like it's had its best success when it has local guys like that, right? Keith, we didn't mention how many coaches came off that tree, right?
Yeah, it's we kind of talked about that. Me, Jay Ross, Scotty Hildebrandt, who was from John Ehret, I believe. Mm-hmm. He was my suite mate. We had Jay and Scotty, but then you'd let Butch Daigle coach for a little while. And that kind of set what our team was about. Guys
it had to be smart guys, right?
Guys who loved the game. Right? Yeah. And the one thing you asked me earlier about what I remember about this team, I think you had a bunch of guys who were maybe none of us were really recruited. I'm talking about Lionel Vital, who's a Hall of Famer, played in the league. We're talking about Mark Carey out of Church Point, nobody wanted but Nicholls State. If you look at a bunch of those guys, a lot of us were not recruited or played for. The only people that wanted us was Nicholls State. Right. So all of us came in there with that little chip on our shoulder to prove we belonged. And, I think it worked out, for the best for us.
Well, you were saying you and Bobby Hebert were just talking about the guys who were on the field. Y'all played in Natchitoches or Thibodeau, but like 10, 12 NFL guys on the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's we were talking the year before this in '83, you had Jay Pennison from South Terrebonne, Johnny Meach from Assumption.
Yep.
Both of those cats played in the league.
For the Oilers.
Right. Played for the Oilers, and then you looked at, we had Oscar Smith, Lionel Vital, Mark Carrier, all played in the league. Doug got drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Homer Smith.
So, when you start looking at all the guys,
Lionel was the chief scout for the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
He retired a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. Yeah. The NFL hires him. He goes around during the beginning of college football season. He goes from to college, and he tells the college guys, "I'm an NFL scout. This is what we're looking for."
Right.
And he tells them, things like, if you misbehave in high school, you do something to a woman, hit a woman, the NFL's going to know about it. Stuff like that.
Right.
Well, Lionel and I were just talking today. Lionel didn't speak hardly in college, okay? And he hated to fly. The first flight we ever took, Lionel was on the floor with his barf bags, and I hope you don't mind me talking about it because we talked today about it. And just think, he told me, he said he flies probably almost 200 days a year.
Wow.
And he's got to get up, and he does public speaking now.
Yeah.
And so where did all that come from? I think the Nicholls State experience and being around all of us, and I just think we had some great guys. We had a great camaraderie, among everybody, and they still had football dorms. They still had those things. I mean, to me, that was the greatest.
Breakfast check.
I remember
In the cafeteria.
I remember him hanging out right behind the baseball players, right? When you play a baseball game against Nicholls, you had to run into the football players. And Shane, in the last 30 seconds, so just how important is this to get everybody together on Saturday, and how many people you expect will come in?
I think we're expecting about 80% of that team to come in.
Nice.
Crowd-wise,
they're all local.
Yeah, they're all local. It's very important because, unless we remember the past and bring those people in, they kind of get forgotten. And I'm a big proponent of making sure those guys know that they want it, they're a part of the family. And that's why it all starts. When you hear these guys talk, they talk about their relationships with each other and not necessarily the X's and O's or the plays that were made or not made in the game. So that's what it's all about, keeping in contact with those guys and being a family.
Again, it'll be next Saturday against Northwestern, 11 a.m. kickoff.
October 19th.
October 19th. Well, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for being here, and we'll celebrate you guys in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Go Colonels.
All right. That's this edition of Bayou Time Sports. Thanks for watching. I'm Harry McCullough. See you next time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights.